Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are here to discuss the energies of the new moon in Pisces. This is a new cycle, new lunation, and Pisces is always very interesting to discuss because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It encompasses all other signs and it carries the wisdom of all 12 archetypes within itself, within its own archetype, and we all have the archetype of the Pisces within ourselves. All zodiac signs are actually archetypes within our own psycho-spiritual functions of our beings, and each sign of the zodiac has rules a certain part of our body, so we cannot say we are only Aries or Cancer or Leo or whatever other sign. We have all signs incorporated in ourselves, as we have all four elements within ourselves. We have all the elements of the universe within ourselves. So we have all the zodiac incorporated within ourselves. And Pisces carries this wisdom. It unites all previous experiences and it embraces the whole of life and it completes the circle. It completes one whole chapter and it represents the beginnings and the endings. So even though this is energy of the new moon, it's new beginnings, new starts, new initiations, but this is new moon in Pisces, so it's a bit different. It's not a regular new moon, and it's always mixed with beginnings and endings. So we are preparing for something new. We are preparing, so we are leaving something behind. There is something that we are planning to end. There is something that we have to just put back, leave it in the past and don't look back. And this is a transcendent experience. It's a transcendent vision. And this is the beginning of an ending and an ending of the beginning. It's the Pisces. It's a continuous ending that never ends. It's a journey of going down but never really reaching that bottom, and it's the start of the next turn on the wheel. So this is a profoundly feminine sign, and it's ruled by two male gods, Jupiter and Neptune, and it's very complex and it has dual nature and it's a mutable sign. So we may go through these complexes, these paradoxes, these confusions and illusions and delusional games and hallucinations and altered states. And it can be very transformational, but also it can be very transcendental and also very addictive experience in many ways. And new moon energy, as I said, new moon is when the sun and the moon come together. This is known as the new moon phase. This is when the sun and the moon are dancing together in the sky. But during the new moon, we cannot really see the moon in the sky yet. And 3 days prior to the new moon, we don't see moon at all in the sky also. It's known as the dark phase. So we have been experiencing dark phase of the new moon before we reach the exact new moon, which is in Pisces, the last sign. So it's a bit dark, it's a bit anxious energy. We are dealing with our suppressed and unconscious fears, with our subconscious fears, with our subconscious patterns, with our ancestral patterns and programs and fears that we have inherited, not only through our blood family, but through our soul genetics. We have soul genetics. It's not only physical genetics, we have soul genetics. So we are inheriting those things as well. And this new moon is really interesting because it's connected with Saturn. And Saturn is at last degrees of Aquarius, 29th anaretic degree of Aquarius. It's about to end its journey through Aquarius. It's been there since 2020. And this new moon is in conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius, because Saturn is on the last degrees, 29th degree of Aquarius, and this new moon happens on the 1st degree of Pisces, so they are pretty close together. And this energy is like an invitation for what is to come when Saturn enters Pisces on the 7th of March and stays there for another 2 to 3 years. And of course, if you want to know more about this Saturn in Pisces, you can find a video on our YouTube channel about the 2023 forecast, the whole year. So there I have discussed more about it in details about Saturn in Pisces. But this new moon is like a ticket for this Saturn to enter and to show us. It's like a little sneak preview of what we can experience, what it can mean for us, what are we going to deal with, what we will have to work on detoxing, purging, leaving behind, what we will have to remove from our life, what we will have to transform, what we will have to take responsibility for. And this is really energy that shows us that external world can never give us peace. It will never leave us at peace, but we are constantly searching for that peaceful state of mind, peaceful state of emotions, our inner peace. But we are trying to somehow manipulate the external world so that we can have that inner peace. But external world will never be at peace. It is really specifically designed for us. It's a specifically designed system and matrix that always comes up with something that disturbs us, so that we can grow, we can learn, we can always be challenged and tested and put into new situations where we have to prove ourselves to ourselves, until we realize that we really don't have anything to prove to anyone. This is interesting journey. This whole life is journey, and every moment is important. Every moment is miraculous, and it's really powerful time, this new moon in Pisces, to understand that we are not only our physical bodies. We are not our emotions, we are not our thoughts, we are not situations that happen to us in our life, we are not our relationships, we are much more than that. We are the one who experiences all of that, and we are the experienced as well. So this is the time when we are seeing that we have to learn how to be in this world and out of this world at the same time. And this whole creation is the result of consciousness. And this is also something that many of us now may receive as a gift, as a spiritual gift, as a spiritual intuitive message that gives us some relief. And this relief is actually happening maybe through grief. This is, grief together with relief. And we are going through grief in order to reach the relief. So this is how it works. And we may be a bit confused about what is a dream and what is a reality around this time. Am I dreaming, or is this really happening? This may seem a little bit like a science fiction reality. And it may have felt like this for quite some time. For many of us, the reality is very abstract. And it looks a little bit like we are all in some kind of mental institution. And it may not be far from truth, but even in that mental institution, we can wake up and we can help others understand where they are, that they are asleep and they are in the mental institution, and they also have to wake up. And they have an opportunity to transcend that experience of where they are. And this is the time when we can remember our deepest truth. And by remembering deepest truth, we are dealing with emotional addictions. And through dealing with emotional addictions, we are able to experience the divine comedy. It's the divine comedy. It really is. And as long as as long as we experience tragedy of life, we will experience the comedy of life as well. This is like the light and the darkness. There is no light without darkness, so there is no comedy without tragedy. So this is these polarities are the part of the same whole, and we should always be aware of it, always, never to forget this. And we are internalizing our power now, not externalizing it, but this is about internalizing our own power and understanding that it's not only that we are suppressing negative things, that we are only suppressing traumas, we are only suppressing shame and blame and negative patterns and behaviors. No, we are sometimes, not sometimes, but actually very often, we are suppressing actually our happiness. We are suppressing our positive vibes. We are suppressing our awakening out of fear, of course, always out of fear. And we are suppressing our happiness, thinking that it's not what we deserve, or thinking that it's impossible to experience it. So we suppress our happiness. Or maybe we think that we will be blamed by others if we are happy in this kind of world. But it's really important to know what is the right thing to do. Knowing what is the right thing to do. And we are going there. We are getting there to know what is the right thing to do. And we shouldn't mistake being passive with surrendering. This is what can happen with Pisces energy. We can mistake passivity for surrender, and we can then get lost in all kinds of addictions because of this. Because we just think that, okay, I will surrender and I will be passive then. But this is not the same. As well as giving up is not the same as surrendering. It's very actually hard to understand what it means to surrender, what it really means to surrender. And this is a question for all of us. Let's ask ourselves, what does it really mean to surrender? Am I afraid of surrendering? And who do I surrender to? Who do I surrender to? Where is that? Do I trust that something, the higher power, the higher self? Do I have the trust that I need in order to surrender myself? And this is about the non-verbal communication with our soul, that silent communication with our soul, and that puts us out of our fragmented mind. Because we are in a fragmented reality. We are living in a fragmented world. We are separating everything. Everything is separated. You know, we have different subjects that actually should be connected. You know, we are discussing about different parts of the body, forgetting that this body is actually a whole body. So if one thing is not functioning, we shouldn't only look, for example, if my finger is not functioning, it shouldn't be only my finger that I am looking at, but the whole structure of my being, because it affects all of who I am, not only one part of me. So this is now the time with Pisces energy to look at this oneness, to look at the whole of who we are, not parts of it, but we are fragmenting everything. We are fragmenting science, fragmenting arts, fragmenting relationships, fragmenting our personalities. But now it's time to go through this opposite process of fragmentation and defragmentation. And, you know, Pisces energy, during this time we have Venus in Pisces. Venus is on the very last degree of Pisces. Venus enters Aries just a couple of hours or maybe 1 hour after this new moon happens. And it's actually very good that this happens 1 hour after this new moon, because this will give us all a really good boost that will give us a light and passionate, a passionate moment to fight for what we love, to fight for our own love within ourselves, not for love, a romantic love, but for love as a state of being. And Venus in Aries gets what she wants. So we will have that ability to get what we want. And Saturn, in conjunction with this new moon, can also give us that structure and give us some boundaries that we need definitely in the time of new moon in Pisces, together with the Sun there and the Neptune there and Venus on the last degrees there. So we will need some structure, because we can go too much on every side, losing our boundaries, losing our senses, if we get lost in these Pisces waters. So Saturn will give us this structure, and Venus then in Aries will give us this passion and strength to fight for what we want. So we won't get lost, and we should never be afraid of getting lost, because we cannot get lost ever, ever. We cannot get lost because we are never actually alone. And there is always, life always gives us everything that we need in every situation. So we are never left alone. This is something that we have to know. We are alone only in our minds, when our egoic selves tells us that we are alone, when we are separate from everyone, when we fall into those illusions and tricks that we are separated from reality, separated from the world, separated from the universe. But how can it be if the universe is in us? And it's more like we are not, it's not about us living on the earth, but earth lives in us, and so we are projecting it. So we are living in some kind of a dream. This is Pisces energy. We are actually living in some kind of a dream, and we are waiting to wake up. So we are we are sleepwalking through this life. Many of us are sleepwalking. And if we look around us, we will see that many people live on autopilot. They live mechanical lives. They live repetitive lives. I mean, all of us do it to some degree. But if we are ready enough to face our illusions, to face our mechanical selves, to face what we don't like, and to face that what we do like as well, all our attachments and resistances, then we will be able to be more conscious and more aware through this life. And Pisces energy, a Pisces archetype, includes everything from the transcendent to the demonic. Everything includes there, the lightest and the darkest, the mystics and the murderers, the victims and redeemers, the rational and irrational. Everything is in Pisces archetype. Everything is there. So we are now facing that subtle, fluid nature where everything is one. Everything is one, and there are no borders, no boundaries. There is nothing we can hold on to, because everything, as we try to hold on to something, it melts, it disappears, it dissolves. It's ethereal. Pisces energy is ethereal. And it's really good to know this and to be aware that it's not that something is wrong with us if we are experiencing this, but this is normal, organic process that we are experiencing. And when we resist change, we actually produce and manifest stress. So when we resist this change, when we resist things that naturally happen, we produce stress. And we should know that this Pisces part in us is not thinking. Pisces uses consciousness, not thinking. It uses consciousness. So we must release this resistance, and we should know that the flow is the path, and there is no wrong path. There is no wrong turn. Every turn and every path is right for us at that time and moment that we are experiencing. There is no mistake. And we have to overcome our thinking that we are going to lose something or someone or ourselves. As I said, we cannot get lost and we cannot lose anything. Nothing can be lost. This is what Pisces teaches us, because it's about the unconditional, the infinite, the mystical and mysterious experiences, the spiritual realm, the spirits and the guides. This is what Pisces is about. There is so much more of what we don't see in the world, so much more of what we don't see, and only 10% of our being is seen. The rest is unseen. The rest we don't know. So Pisces is inviting us to experience those 90% of the unseen, and to dive deep into those waters, to dive deep and deeper, to be bold enough to swim through those waters, those primordial waters of Pisces. And they are, the glyph of Pisces are two fish swimming in the opposite direction, connected with the cord. and they are always together. They cannot separate, but they are looking at different directions. But it doesn't matter because they are interdependent. They cannot lose each other. So there are many interpretations of what these two fish represent, but every interpretation is actually good, because in some of them it is said that one fish is the mind, the other is the heart, and they are swimming in opposite direction, and they are trying to meet each other to balance the mind and the heart. One is the light, other one is the darkness. One is masculine, the other one is feminine. This is what happens with dual nature. This is our duality, and this is mutable sign, very adaptable. So we can adapt and align and adjust in any situations quickly and easily, actually, with this Pisces energy. And no matter, it doesn't matter that they are looking a different direction, because they will both reach the same destination. They will both reach the same destination. They won't get lost. They are connected, even though they are looking in different directions. And this is a time of spiritual gifts. Spiritual gifts are very important. We should be open to receive them. And surrender is the theme. Surrender is the theme in order for us to receive these gifts. And that this is, the only option that is left when we have tried everything else. We have tried all kinds of things, and we have put so much effort into trying to achieve something, into trying to change something, into trying to transform ourselves consciously, but nothing worked. So surrender is the only option left, and letting go of control. Letting go of control is very hard for most of us, because we think if we let go, we will lose ourselves. This is, again, that pattern, that repetitive loop that keeps going on. And we have to learn how to let go of this control. And we can only see this with our third eye. We can only see this when we close our eyes, or even with our eyes opened. But it's easier when we close our eyes, because when we close our eyes, it's darkness, and we are shutting off from the external world. So there are less distractions. There are less noises and distractions that take away our attention and focus. So when we close our eyes, we have that ability to go into that non-verbal conversation with our soul. And we are able to break through the veil of this physical reality and to pierce right through it, to see more subtle energies. And the symbol of Pisces, the symbol of the fish, is also related to that very interesting symbol called Vesica Piscis, or it is pronounced in many different ways, but I think it's Vesica Piscis. If I say it in English, it will be, in English accent, it can be understood maybe better. So this is a symbol of two circles that are, there is intersection of two circles. They are identical two circles, and they are like this. They are like one, and the other one is overlapping the first one. You can find it. So their intersection of these two circles create the symbol of the fish as well. And it's interesting because this is related. Pisces and Pisces, they are very similar. They sound very similar, and Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, being the spiritual, being related to religion and Christianity, but it's much older than that. It's much older than religion. All these symbols are much older than religion and any terms or names. And the symbol of the fish is very deep, and it relates to those waters, those primordial waters and subconscious reality, subconscious mind that knows everything about everything. It's all in our subconscious, and we sometimes receive these gifts and this knowledge through our dreams and synchronicities, or through some mystical experiences that we go through. And actually, this symbol of Vesica Piscis is something that builds the symbol of the flower of life as well. it creates, out of many of those Vesica Piscis symbols, there is a flower of life created. And it's also symbolically, it means the liberation, the unconditional love, the final moment, the end of the journey, and the transcendence of this physical dense reality. And this symbol has been also known as the shape of an almond, and the shape of an almond is also related to our centers in the brain called amygdala. They are processing our emotions, and they are related to pineal gland, which is connected with our awakening, this third eye, and our inner sight, our insight. These eyes are not the ones with which we wake up, but our inner eye is the one that needs to be awakened for us to see, to really wake up from this dream of reality that we call reality. So this amygdala is also related to this Pisces momentum of processing our emotions. That's why Pisces are connected with emotions, with deep emotions, with compassion and understanding and empathy and absorbing other people's emotions and being able to sense somebody else's state of being, even though they are very far away, and being like a sponge emotional when we are in the room, feeling other people. This is how these things work. And we are now able to actually activate this pineal gland through our amygdala, through the Pisces energy, through compassion, empathy, understanding, through meditation and contemplation, and through arts, through music, through dancing, painting. All these things are under the Pisces energies, and all poets are related to this Pisces energy. These are states of being that are happening now in this moment. This is when we know that we are this moment, the present moment. Like, who am I? I am the present moment. And when I am the present moment, everything is possible. This is the infinite field of possibilities. This is not where we ask why or how, and we continuously ask how and why. We cannot deny this. We are always asking, but how? How can I reach this? How can I achieve this? How can I wake up? How can I help myself? How can I heal myself? Why is this happening to me? All these questions come from our asleep selves, from ourselves who don't know the present moment. And all these questions actually put us in a state where everything becomes senseless. So we lose the sense, and then when we lose the sense and ask too many questions, we run into those escapism modes of Pisces. Pisces is escapism as well. We are escaping reality. We have a need to close our eyes for this world and dive into another world of fantasy. This is not the same as closing our eyes and diving deep within ourselves, but this is avoiding all of it and just falling into fantasy. And there is something called spiritual bypassing. This is when people mistake meditation and enlightenment. Meditation is not the purpose. Meditation is the way to get there, but it's not so necessary, and it's not so limiting as we think it is. Everything can be meditation. Every single breath of our life is meditation. If we are present, literally everything can become meditation. We shouldn't limit ourselves. And these questions that we are asking all the time about how and why take us away from the magic of the present moment, and we are searching for rational explanation. And if we are searching for rational explanation in Pisces season, in the season of Pisces, we will never get a rational explanation. And this can be frustrating, especially if we know that all questions and answers are illusions of the mind. This is what Pisces reminds us of. all the questions and all the answers are illusions of the mind. And we are being reminded that sometimes we just have to do nothing. And it may be the hardest thing for us to do nothing. And that sounds maybe easy, like I can do nothing, but just trust me, try and do nothing. Try to be just in the state of doing nothing, and you will see how hard it is. But this is what Pisces energy wants from us. This is what this new moon wants from us. The discipline in doing nothing. Saturn is together with this new moon, so the discipline of doing nothing and having the fire in us to work nothing, to do nothing. But this doesn't mean that we are not productive, that we are not living normal life, but it means that in us we don't have that crazy hysterical need to always do something, to always react on our thoughts, to always react on our emotions, to always produce and manifest something, to always say something, to always react on something. Can we just dive deep into ourselves and try to see how much noise there is in us, how much noise we produce, how much noise we create, and we can welcome a relief in situations where nothing else has worked but this doing nothing. And it's time for us to see what seeds do we want to plant in deep in our souls, that we want to grow in the springtime, that we want to blossom. What kind of seeds would we put in our own soul? If somebody asked us, if somebody came to us and told us, you can put any kind of seed that you want now in your soul, what kind of seeds would we put in our soul? And we may go through processes of deep emotional overwhelmed feelings, and these overwhelmed feelings can put us in a very specific place, and we may be crying not even knowing why. And crying is actually very, very powerful thing, because crying is, as I say many times, alchemical process. It's the greatest example of alchemy. It's we turn our emotions into liquid, into a healing liquid. Pisces is about healing, and it's about self-healing. So crying is an extremely self-healing process that we should be thankful for. We should really celebrate every tear, and we should be thankful for every tear as well. And Pisces waters accept our tears. There is, it's just coming back to its source. These liquids are just coming back to its source where they belong. And these Pisces energy just washes away our regrets and our pains and our wounds. It just washes it away. So let's surrender to something higher. We don't have to deal with all of it. There is something greater than us that we don't have control of. And it's time for us to admit to ourselves that we don't have control of everything, and that we can give all of this pain and tears and sadness to something higher. We can just surrender it to this source, to these Piscean waters. We can give it away there, because this is where they belong. They don't belong to us. We are just processing them. They are just temporarily there for us to be purged, to be grown, to grow up. And this could be growing pains, but these growing pains are something that is very valuable. Vulnerability is very valuable. We shouldn't run away from vulnerability. This is new moon when we are undoing ourselves. It's time to undo ourselves and to repeat it over and over again, no matter how tired we may be of undoing ourselves. And vulnerability is the gift, and the wisdom is there. The wisdom is hidden in us being vulnerable. And this is a time of karmic completions. Saturn together with this new moon in Pisces, completions, Pisces, karmic Saturn, karmic completions that have that are connected to our fears, to our fear of success, to our fear of failure, to our fear of death, and our fear of life. But we are inhabiting each moment now, and we are understanding that each moment is alive, each moment is precious, each moment is valuable. And Pisces reminds us that, you know, nobody can really hold the whole ocean. That's why this surrender moment is very important. That's why it's very important to let go for a while. Just let go. We don't have to hold it all in us. We can let it go. That's why this release is happening. That's why pressure exists. Pressure is there so that we can release something. That's how the essential oils are made, from the pressure. And from the pressure, diamonds are made, right? So we have to really honor this pressure as something precious, and as something that squeezes us. And as it squeezes us, it creates the essential oil from us, the essence of ourselves. So we are squeezing out all that is not serving us, all that is toxic for us, all that is damaging for us. And on this journey, we may have to face our addictions, all kinds of addictions, and our need to escape, our need to run away. We may have to face these things, but also we are revealing on this journey, while facing these addictions, we are revealing depths that we didn't know of within ourselves. And this is the light that we discover in these dark places. You know, when all lights are out, if we turn on our own light, we are going to shine in the darkness. So we don't need any other light but our own, when all the lights are out. And these experiences are really magical, mystical, mysterious, otherworldly. And for some it may be scary at first, but as we walk further and further on this journey of connecting with ourselves, we will see that all that we are afraid of is also an illusion, complete illusion. All that we are afraid of. Death is the greatest illusion of them all. Death is like the highest level of the video game, the end of the video game, and this is something that we have to face. Our fear of death, our fear of losing who we are, and who we think we are, who we really are. What are we losing there? We cannot lose our essence. We can never lose anything, as I said at the beginning of this life. So this Piscean energies in astrology is teaching us that death is the greatest illusion of our dream here in this reality. And this is a necessary journey. This one here, dense reality, is a necessary journey for the soul to navigate both the dark and light, the both states of life. And there is a lot of spiritual wisdom that we have to unpack on this journey. And we have to become friends with everything that we think are demons. And we enter the mysterious zone of the unknown. And we stay present to the open and empty dark space. We have to feel our body, to feel the breath that is breathing in our body, to feel our voice speaking through us. These are, these subtle energies. And until we get into this miracle zone, until we get into that blissful state where we realize what are illusions, we have to go through a lot of stress. We have to go through a lot of conflicts and struggles and illusions and fears. We are unpacking those subconscious fears too, but this is something good actually. We We cannot run away from these fears all our lives. We can push them aside for a little while, but they will come up again. As we keep pushing further and further, they will come up every time, next time, stronger and stronger. And it's meaningless to do this. So we must release this resistance, release the resistance, and understand that we don't have to go anywhere. It is just about a will being lifted. We are looking and we are seeing. So we don't have to go anywhere in order for us to realize these things. We don't have to travel the world. We don't have to move at all in order for us to taste the substance of our essence. It's always right here. That moment that is called here can never disappear. The moment that we call right here. Where am I now? Here. So ask yourselves all the time, every now and then, where am I? And you will always have an answer that you are here. Wherever you happen to be, you are here. And that moment called here will never disappear and can never disappear, because you are definitely always here. And but we always try so hard to keep things the way they are. Or we try so hard to change something that we don't like, and we fail to see that what is happening, what is there that we don't like, is just a message for us that we have to work with. It's a communication. We are always communicating with life. Life is always communicating with us through pain, also through joy. It's all a message. Pain is a message. It's a thought. The physical and emotional pain are thoughts. They have their frequency, and they have their message to deliver to us. So we are trying to escape those things when these things try to deliver us a message. So it's just an absurd game of running away, and we have to see that this is not getting us anywhere. And it's a very important task to see that we have to be in this world, but to know that we are also a part of something greater. And the dark side of the Pisces can get pretty dark, but the darker it gets, the closer we are to light, because we carry in ourselves the spark of light, and that spark of light is fully entangled in the darkness. And as we get closer to our light, that darkness also gets thicker. So on our path to our essence, we have to face all these things that we don't like, that we are afraid of, that are uncomfortable. And we should just have this on our mind. This is the story of spiritual warriors. New Moon in Pisces. Pisces is spiritual warrior, and especially with Venus then leaving Pisces and entering Aries very soon after this new moon. This gives us that warrior passion and bravery and courage and motivation and inspiration to step into our spiritual warrior role and be ready to face the fear of death, to face the fear of loss, to face everything that there is, and to embrace every moment as a live and precious moment. Every moment counts. Every moment is unique. Each and every one of us is unique. And life force is constantly renewing itself. So we are also constantly renewing ourselves. We are living and dying in endless cycles, and life force itself is indestructible. It is eternal life. And we come from these primordial waters, and then we return, and we never really leave the source. We never really leave it, but we forget we forget it, and then we repeat ourselves into those questions, and we are chasing something all the time. We get lost in distractions and noises. We want attention from others, we want understanding from others, we want a light from others, we want all kinds of things from external reality. But remember, internalizing our power and being able to sit with ourselves, to look at ourselves, to wake up that pineal gland, to activate the amygdala, to process emotions that are dark and that are uncomfortable, and to process emotions that are comfortable and pleasurable. They all belong to that almond shaped glands in our brains. And this Vesica Piscis symbol, that is these two circles that intercross each other. And then when we see these two circles that connect with each other, they have in the middle that shape of fish, then we see the Trinity. We see the Trinity, and this Vesica Piscis reminds us of the Holy Trinity that we carry, that we are not only the body, but we are the body, we are spirit and the soul. We are all of those components, not only the body. So physical death is just a waking up in another reality. It's just a transformation. This is what astrology teaches us, ancient astrology, ancient teachings. This is what is the main essential wisdom of Pisces energy. And we are always bound to the source. And just like those tails of the fish, they are never separate. They cannot separate, even though they are looking in different directions. And we can just, be able to go into those darkest places and just face our own madness, because it's not who we are. It's not those delusional escapism, addictions, and self-destructiveness patterns are not who we are. They are there to help us to remember who we are. And spiritual liberation is something that is coming as an award of going through that process. And this is what happens when we as a soul come back to the source and swim in that waters of the source. We are back to the unity. And there is no need to struggle and to swim against the tides. We cannot swim against the tide, and the currents are wild. In the river you cannot swim against the tide. We just have to surrender to the flow. This is what's really important. And to learn really how to release judgments, how to heal our wounds, how to be in a state of forgiveness and acceptance and awareness, to expand our consciousness, to expand our awareness, and to have deep experience of the unseen, to meditate, to reflect, to enter the world of the spirit. This is what is happening during this time. And to see that the Pisces is the final stage of incarnated life in the story of the zodiac. It's the final stage, and in this territory we are asked to turn inward, to enter that transpersonal reality, and to leave logic behind, leave the rational thinking behind, and return to the source, and enter into that mystery zone of the unknown and the unseen. And this is the zone that is filled with these spiritual insights. And when we are asleep, when we are mechanical, we feel abandoned, we feel separated, we feel alone in the world, and we also enter relationships in order to deal with this pain of separation. But then again, we still feel alone. So it's not about finding the right job or career or partner or financial stability. There are no answers there. We are always looking outside of ourselves, in other people, and in external God, external divine energy, external stories, external everything. What we are looking for that, what we have to find inside. And we are just offered now from this energy of this new moon to be patient and to be silent with ourselves, to accept life as our teacher, to accept this new moon as our teacher. Pisces is our teacher. This archetype is our teacher all the time. And we are not entering this new moon by setting new intentions. Actually, it's not about initiating anything new, but allowing ourselves to receive that new light of looking, that third eye seeing, to allow ourselves to be satisfied with what we have, to allow ourselves to surrender and to accept, and to withdraw into ourselves, to retreat, to treat ourselves, to treat our wounds, to do nothing, and to simply be with what is, to give ourselves permission to let go of control, not to force things, not to force actions, but to surrender. When we have tried everything else, it's just time when we say, I surrender now. Not give up, not be passive, but surrender. Trusting the process, trusting that life takes care of us, trusting that that we are beings of light and dark at the same time, trusting and knowing that all those evil, demonic things that we perceive in the world are also part of us, knowing that our collective unconscious is a very great part of us. It's all in our subconscious mind, that we carry everything in our subconscious mind. And it's time to let go of some of our obsessive ideas, obsessive thoughts, and to understand that we are supported by the unknown forces. It becomes easier to surrender when we understand that we are all the time supported by everything that happens in our life. And to simply have a desire to be content, to feel comfortable, not to want so many things, not to have so much desires, but just to have one simple desire, to be satisfied, to be at peace with everything what happens. If something bad happens, okay. If something good happens, okay as well. It's all right. And it's time to review our life, to access our voice of the soul, to allow ourselves to pass into that area, and to allow ourselves to be touched by the subtle energies of life, and to wash away those regrets from the past, to understand that these ancestral patterns that we carry are not who we are either, but they are given to us as special tools of communication with our soul that we have to work with. It's not who we are. It's not like we are doomed or something. It's not that someone is blessed and someone is doomed. It's not how it works. Everyone is blessed and doomed at some degree, and everything has its perfect role for us to use it, and to use it constructively, and to release our sorrows into that healing cosmic ocean. It's time to really flow into that cosmic ocean and to swim in the Pisces waters, to discover during this time that we are not so possessive, we are not so attached, we don't need so many things. Our need for control and our need to be right doesn't have to be so strong, and it's time to relax and accept, relax and allow ourselves to have that moment of detachment from expectations, detachment from everything that is pulling us away from the source, that is taking us into the madness of this reality, into the madness of distortion of the sounds that we hear, distortion of the sounds of our own inner selves when we close our eyes and we cannot stand being there. So we have to open our eyes and we have to do something in order to forget. So remember, these Pisces energies can push us into need to forget something, need to escape something, need to shut down from something, need to just withdraw and be on my own, or need to just spiritual bypass. I will just meditate and forget about everything in the world. This is not the way either. The way is pure consciousness, our centeredness, our availability to face the dark and light, to face both fish, to be able to swim as these fish, to look in different directions, but to be connected, to allow our minds and hearts to work, to do their work, to do their job, without us trying to control so much. But what we can control and what we should control is our reaction. Our reactions, our attitudes in life. It's about our ability to say no or say yes to certain things. It's our ability to make decisions, to make choices, to make conscious choices. And it's not so much about losing these things that are dark and scary. It's not so much about removing them. Pisces is not removing anything. It's about integrating all of it, incorporating it all into who we are. Because if we remove the shadow, if we remove that dark part from us, we won't be whole. We will lose who we are, and then we are not who we are. Then we are just a fragment, and as I said, we are not now going into that fragmentation. Pisces is about embracing it all, not separating, and all suffering comes from our perception of thinking that we are separate from others, separate from the source, separate from the God, separate from the world, separate from the universe. But this is impossible. We just have to know this and know that there are no wrong choices, there are no wrong paths, there are no wrong decisions. All these things lead us to somewhere. And even if we make something that seems like a mistake or a wrong path, we will definitely be redirected again when we go through a certain process of learning what we did. We will again be redirected to the right path where we will see, now I can do it differently, but it wasn't a mistake. There was nothing wrong. And this fear of losing ourselves, losing life, losing our dear ones, fear of death, is something that is now really dissolving on the collective level, and we will feel it all individually, and we may face it in our dreams. So pay attention to your dreams. We will experience some vivid dreams, definitely. Also astral projections and lucid dreaming. This is all the realm of Pisces, the spirits and guides, the messages from the other world. And the fear of death is just a mastery illusion. It's an illusion of the mastermind. And if there was no this fear of death, this life would be completely different. But for some reason, we have to experience it. and go through it. And once we go through the experience of it, we understand that it was an illusion. And until then, we definitely need it. But it's good reminder to know that it's a process of self-mastery. Death is there as our best friend to keep us always alert and to help us go through the process of awakening, and also through the process of self-mastery, self-cognition. And these are key qualities. This focus between fantasy and reality in Pisces can all be integrated. All of life's lessons can be integrated here. And Pisces is mutable sign, so our thoughts and feelings might go through a lot of changes, a lot of movements and ups and downs. And this can take us into many different directions and put us into many different situations and roles. But remember that mutable signs are very adaptable. So use this adaptability, because we can now adapt into any situation very quickly. Just like if we enter into the unknown zone, remember, we can adapt to it. We can adapt to anything. And Pisces is also water sign, so we will be in touch with our feelings. It's very important to be in touch with our feelings, and to be acceptive, to be receptive, and to accept things, and to remember we don't have to limit ourselves in anything. Pisces is infinite field of possibilities, and let's try not to be too logical or too rational. World and experience and life is much wider than we think, and it's full of possibilities that we can only dream of, and we may dream of those impossible possibilities that we can understand are not impossible at all. So this is really pushing us to undo ourselves and to totally change the perception that we have about things that we don't understand, because Pisces is about revealing and discovering things that we don't understand. And suffering is a key to the wisdom, but conscious suffering, not just mechanical suffering, but conscious suffering, knowing that it is all there to serve us, knowing that it all has its a place in this world, it has its function. And every crack and every break is unique. So everything that broke our heart, or that broke our parts of the body, or that broke our broken promises, everything that broke us in some way has a very unique place on our journey, and it highlights our scars, and they create our uniqueness as well. So let's be able to see it all as an adventure, as it is. It really is an adventure, and we may find ourselves maybe lost in some strange waters, but let's accept it as an exciting adventure and leave our past behind. And we are now revealing these depths within ourselves that we didn't know of. And this is the most exciting thing. The most exciting thing is to be alive and to live this life consciously, not to sleep, not waiting for things to happen, not waiting for things to change, but being able to recognize that each moment is unique, each moment has its precious taste, every moment is alive. We are alive right here and right now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right here and right now, alive. Be aware of this. Don't forget the adventure of being alive. And this is something that will give us a lot of insight and strength and courage and responsibility and maturity to walk through our self-mastery journey with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces starting from the 7th of March, which is very soon. And it will be there until February of 2026. So it's a long process for all of us, important one, very important one collectively. So this new moon and these things that we have to break through our illusions and be ready to see that some things that maybe seem like fantasies and are impossible are actually very possible, and they are our secret gateways to walk through and enter from that other side, from where we see that all these fears were illusions. And we may see that actually fairy tales and mythologies are telling us the greatest truth of who we are, and maybe history is a fairy tale. We are going to understand that many things are twisted in this world because we have a twisted perception. We are looking through some twisted filters. That's why Pisces energy helps us to see beyond the wheels of illusions, to see beyond the filters of rational and logical, to see that maybe history is a fairy tale and fairy tales and mythologies are real things. And, let's allow ourselves to think differently in a non-linear way, without looking at a time like a past, present, and future, but seeing it all as something that is alive. Time is also alive. It can stretch, it can shrink, it can, reshape, it can change shapes in any way. So time is not something that is here, the beginning, and it goes and it ends. This is not what happens with our life. Our life is never-ending journey, and it shrinks, it stretches, it goes into vertical, it goes into horizontal, it goes into any direction that we want. And we are free to choose any direction we want. We don't have to stay prisoners to our own mental patterns and emotional processes. This is what this energy is all about. And I encourage you to go and watch or rewatch 2023 forecast video on our YouTube channel, because it's also talking a lot about these things, and it can be very helpful to some. And I also recommend that you visit our website moonomens.com, where you can find all kinds of things that can help you on this journey called life. All kinds of materials and books where you can find some traces of wisdom that can help you find your own insights and your own perception that puts you in the right place with yourself. And also you can there find astrological articles written by Lucrezia, our other astrologer from the Moon Omens team. I highly recommend reading those articles, because there you can also find very, very interesting things that can help you go through your everyday life and understand also the wisdom of astrology, wisdom of planets, wisdom of the dance of the planets in ourselves and how they affect us. So yes, please go and visit, check it out. You will find some extraordinary things there, I am sure. And this would be it. I wouldn't add anything else. This is your new moon in Pisces astrology forecast, and I hope we can all become more detached from the noises of the outside world and internalize our power and seek within ourselves to face that fear of death, face the fear of loss, because it really is an illusion of the mind. Even though it sounds like some science fiction reality, but maybe we will understand that it's all turned upside down. So what we think is a dream may not be a dream, and vice versa. All right, see you all in 2 weeks. Bye bye, love you all.